This is question 3 from the third revision quiz for probability and stats, and it's about linear regressions. And it says, given paired data x and y, so we've got pairs of data, we're trying to predict an expected value for our dependent variable y that we're trying to forecast on the basis that we know what x is. And our model is a linear regression model where we've got an alpha intercept and beta is the slope of the line, so the coefficient for x to help predict y. And we're trying to predict our hypothesis, so we set the null hypothesis that our x has no dependent relationship to y, so there's no beta value, it's 0. And the alternate hypothesis is that it's not 0, that there is some relationship that we can prove. So at this stage, rather than trying to get bogged back into the notation again, I think there's a pretty good section in the Miller and Freund's textbook on this if you really want to go back into the notation. But I suspect if you're watching this video, you don't understand that notation, and I certainly don't understand it well enough to speak clearly about it. But basically, what you need to understand here is that the assumptions underlying the fact that we can do a linear regression, in other words, our assumptions about the normality of the residuals or the normality of the data that we've got, that leads via some proofs to the assumption that our beta value has a t distribution, and it's actually got n minus 2 degrees of freedom. So it's I've actually just memorized this, but there's certainly a good section on the book on it. It's not terribly intuitive, but it probably doesn't need to be. All you need to know is that for linear regressions, the beta does have a t distribution. It's got a t distribution because of the assumptions that we've made, so it's not that it has to, it's that we've assumed some things that mean that it follows that the beta does have a t distribution, and there's 2 degrees of freedom, and I remember that by it being an alpha and a beta has 2 things that we're using in order to calculate it, but I'm pretty sure that's not the actual reason. So that's all I want to talk about for this question. I think it's a fairly easy one to remember. Linear regressions have beta values that have t distributions with 2 degrees of freedom.